Aha, and then in Discord. Aha, okay. Now we're
There you go.
cooking. Sweet. Okay, back in live streaming mode. This is awesome. It's been a while. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Amazing. Sweet. Well, starting a new series. I don't know if anyone's going to show up, but so glad that you're here.
Yeah.
People might trickle in. Um, but I think everything's good to go, and I'm going to keep an eye on the Discord. All right. Well, welcome to VizHub Office Hours, the first one ever. I'm hoping this will be a long running series where we just hang out and talk about fun stuff. And for this first one, I have prepared a deck. I'm just going to run through this and then we can open it up. But can we start with introductions? Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Chris and been working in IT land for close to 10 years doing JavaScript, but also help desk, but also looking at the printer, all kinds of stuff like that. But I got interested in D3GS when I was getting my certification about 8, 9 years ago, and then yeah, was made that my sort of top interest when it came to programming. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Well, this will be recorded. So let me introduce myself too. I'm Curran. I created VizHub a long time ago, and I've been teaching data visualization with D3 for a number of years, mainly through Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I've been teaching this online course there. And VizHub is my side project, my passion project, so to speak. It's not my full time gig, but I want to keep it going and grow it and make it really, really good. Make something of lasting value. So I'm going to run through these slides here. The current state of VizHub. It's been online since 2018. It's fully open source. The core feature is you can fork and modify interactive data visualizations in your browser. I've been using it for teaching my data visualization course at Worcester Polytechnic for 8 years now. That was actually the reason I created VizHub, is so that I could create examples for my students and have an easy way for them to fork and modify the examples. And other professors have picked up the tool and are using it as well. So it's currently being used at University of San Francisco and University of North Texas. So recent developments include the edit with AI feature, which I'm really, really excited about. It really changes the game for what VizHub can do. Fully working revision history is new. It wasn't really working well until like 2 weeks ago. And a whole new thumbnail system, which I hope will be more reliable. VizHub in the past has suffered from data viz thumbnails that break half the time. And I recently changed the pricing of VizHub. I was looking at my server bills and I'm like, I can't just keep paying for this. I was like, oh, it's either I shut it down. I don't want to shut it down though, but I have to pay for the servers. So I changed it so that you can't really use it anymore until you pay. And I put the price really low at $1.99 a month to make it accessible to people, mainly students. And on top of that, there's this new AI credits system. So when you use the Edit with AI feature, it deducts your AI credits and you can top up your AI credits. So the challenges that I'm facing right now is I want to really build up a vibrant community around VizHub. And there sort of is. Like there's the VizHub forum and there's the VizHub Discord and the VizHub open source stuff. And people have been involved here and there. But I had a good thing going a couple of years ago with the Get It Right in Black and White series where I had a meeting every week or every other week. And it was like a recurring group of people that would show up and hang around, and I missed that. And also I missed like the D3 meetups back in San Francisco in 2015 where it was like the heyday of D3 with blocks.org and everything. And my goal is to kind of recreate that ethos. And so that's what I'm working on, this challenge of the lack of like community engagement and feedback. Like people don't really give that much feedback on VizHub, but I need feedback to know what to work on next, how to make it better. I also want to get VizHub to a point where it can be used in professional settings. So that's the current state of VizHub. And bear with me while I run through this customer problem presentation. So I want to get feedback on VizHub, and particularly on the whole idea of my understanding of the challenges that it's supposed to solve. So understanding the core problems of data visualization developers. So who are the customers of VizHub? Primarily educators teaching data visualization at this point and historically, although I want to change that. Data visualization practitioners. Some freelancers use VizHub to create starting points for their work and maybe even deliver their work. And I know someone has used it in the past for tutoring and mentorship because it has this real-time collaboration feature. Developers, like just traditional front-end developers who want to integrate data viz into products that they're working on, and researchers and journalists working with data. What problems do they have? Complexity. D3 and web tools have a steep learning curve, so if you're new to it, it takes a long time to onboard. It's hard to create reusable and shareable visualizations. It's hard to collaborate on visualizations. And it's hard to deploy and embed interactive visualizations. Like you can do all these things, but there's a sort of a long, detailed process for each one of these, and VizHub is aiming to make all of this easier. So how are people solving these problems today? A lot of people use observable, but it has a whole different paradigm where it's not JavaScript, it's like observable JavaScript, and you can't really edit outside of their tool. Also, tools like CodePen, JSFiddle, StackBlitz, and things in that same vein. Those are sort of general purpose web-based IDEs, but they don't have really data-viz specific features. And people write custom solutions and duplicate effort across different companies. And also a big part of this is like in consulting, which is what I've done a lot of, people just use the traditional front-end workflows and work with designers in Figma. And that works, but it's very technical and involved. So why are these not sufficient solutions? Mainly slow feedback cycles, because data viz, you need fast iteration and fast feedback, fast improvement on what you've done. These tools are not purpose-built for data visualization. They're not accessible for non-technical users. Collaboration features are kind of limited, and it's difficult to integrate visualizations across platforms. So this is sort of my theory about the VizHub market and the customers, and like if I want to grow this business, I think this is what I'm targeting, but I don't really know. That's why I'm having these meetings, and I want to hear from people who are using VizHub. So the upcoming features, like just to give a sense of what I'm looking at for the future, the edit with AI, we're going to build that out. I just landed visibility into your AI usage history today. I want to clean it up as an open source product so people can use the open source piece, like self-host it. Refactor the business specific logic out of the open source, like the Stripe stuff is still in there. And I want to rebuild the whole VizHub UI with Tailwind and make it themable. Someone expressed interest in being able to have their own instance of VizHub that is themed to their brand. I think a lot of people would want that. I want to also improve the runtime environment to support ESM packages like 3JS and TypeScript. I want to introduce an organizations feature for businesses and educators to have groups of people who that they give access to their VizHub organization. And I'm going to be giving a whole new series of lectures. That's the plan, at least for 2025. And this VizHub office hours meeting is here now. So, what features would you like to see? What are your biggest challenges? How can we improve the VizHub community? And we'll see where this discussion goes. I can show demos, but mainly I want to hear from you, whoever's here, whoever's going to show up.
You ready for feedback?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just speak from sort of my point of view. I mean, the last gig I had, I worked for a nonprofit uh, regulatory body in Canada in the IT department. So we um, we had a lot of demand on our small shop to do data visualization, out of the box forms for our both like staff users and users outside the organization. And we use generally, I'm not sure if you're familiar with IMIS. It was it's a framework
Oh.
for nonprofits, and it had a lot of out of the box visualizations, but it was hard to like take something from say like that you model with Microsoft VA and integrate it into the website. Well, sort of. It wasn't hard, but like nothing's impossible, right? But we would have to direct it to like an internal website or something.
Hmm.
So I guess what I'm getting at in a long-winded way was like there are some stuff I've noticed in the industry out of the box for data visualization for non um people without like programming experience. So it'd be nice to maybe if you know I know that was on one of your points to sort of get integration going if possible. But I think even just having the organization, like having that organization, um, like
Right.
VizHub for Teams,
Right.
and then that way with a few models that were sort of like JS light, so people can maybe like integrate it to their own projects or whatever. Um, that would be very cool because there seemed like a bit of a gap from oh that looks cool to like application like you know
Right. Well,
um
how did that problem get solved in that organization that you were working with?
well we would do like like I said, IMS has out of the box visualizations for data in IMS, so
Mhm.
often you would just be using that. But if you wanted something really custom, which our staff wanted, we were using, oh, what do you call it? with Microsoft. It's like BA. What do you call it?
BI, Power BI.
Yeah, Power BI, right? So we
Yeah,
were approaching it that way. But in terms of having it within, like, if you were using something with Power BI, then it would take them away from the IMS framework.
right,
But with the workaround with the IMS framework was it was pointed to our domain. So we would just have like some link on an internal page that would go to something else hosted on our domain that wasn't IMS. So,
right.
but I mean, once you get into like building APIs, then you have a bunch. Then it's like a load of work, right? Because now you have to make it compatible with this, that, or the other thing. So I'm not sure if that's like necessarily feasible, but
Well, yeah, I mean, I think CMS integration is
hmm hmm
going to be a big part of the future of what I want to get working really well. So like ideally you could go into VizHub and go into your org, right? And like onboard people to your org and give them access to the templates within your org and then fork it and then easily like embed it into a CMS.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And currently it does iframe embeds. So like let me just give a quick tour of like what it can do now. Currently you can grab this iframe embed and copy it and you can make it white label so there would be no VizHub branding. And that should work pretty well for a lot of CMSs. But
Oh, that's great.
I know some CMSs are a little restrictive.
Hmm.
But let me just show a demo of what this would look like to use it. So if you want to embed this, you would copy this, and then in VizHub, there is a just a vanilla HTML starter that I can fork and say like embed example. And then I can just paste that snippet into this HTML. And there we have the embedded viz inside of a viz. So, but I know a lot of CMSs don't support that. Another thing I was looking at is like if you could do a script embed where you have the source as like I don't know, something like that, but like mode equals JS or something. And by the way, recently I got this Copilot like auto completion working, so calling out to Gemini, which is super nice.
Oh,
But
I didn't
yeah,
even notice until you pointed it out.
it's super fresh. Um, and it works in a README too, like demonstrates, or at least it should. It's a little glitchy. Or maybe it is only keyed on code. So yeah, I mean, part of this too is to give access to the latest generation of AI tools to people who don't necessarily have like VS Code installed and that sort of thing.
What is the AI that like you're integrating?
Yeah, so there's two types of AI. There's the ghost completions and then there's edit with AI. And this edit with AI does holistic editing. But it's explained on the pricing page that it calls out to Open Router. So Open Router is this company that provides AI API access across different models and different providers. And so they have an API, and VizHub is calling out to the Open Router API. So let's say I wanted to use Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which I found is the best for coding, although 3.7, which just came out, is also very good, but it sometimes overthinks it. But yeah, you can like use this little chat interface and say like make a HTML page that renders a I don't know, a star field, and it will generate it. And then you can take this output and copy it into VizHub. And the edit with code feature of VizHub automates that, so you don't have to copy paste. So like you can copy this here and then like paste it into something. Like I think I just made this embed example. So if I just go into here and paste that whole thing straight out of Claude, it runs. See that? And then I can say edit with AI in VizHub and choose the AI model. And under the hood, it's calling out to Open Router. And so this is another thing. Like maybe the whole list of models is overwhelming for people who don't know about AI, but for people who are following the news with AI and everything, this should be really fun to try out. So like we could try Claude 3.7 Sonnet and say make it super fancy. And just see what it does, because it's very creative. And so the workflow is I prompted it, I hit submit, it's editing with AI, and this is just spinning, and you have to wait for it. Ideally, it should show the generation as it's happening, but that's just not working yet. And then behind the scenes, it's calling out to the model, it's generating, and it's going to parse out the updated code files and then replace them in the viz, and then create a new revision in the revision history so you can undo the changes, and then it will reload the page with the update.
That is super cool.
See, this is what I mean about it's overthinking. Like maybe it's so with Claude 3.7, I found sometimes it like overdoes it.
Yeah, I use Claude daily, and
Oh, do you?
it can. Yeah, I do. Um,
How do you how do you interface with it? I'm curious.
um, well, I'm just copying and pasting because I usually use it for my independent projects. So often honestly, most of the time I'll use it because I forgot how to do something. Oh, that looks really insane.
Insane, right? What? See, Claude 3. This is fancy. I just said make it fancy, and it's you see how it really overdid it. But like sometimes this is what you need. You just need to say make it fancy. And look at the fonts. Cool blue color mode. Are you kidding me? All right, I'm making this public. This is not an embed example. This is the Claude. Yeah, Cosmic Voyage. My wife Nita is here. You want to say hello? You can join in. Join in the Discord. Oh, your mic's not working. Um, Cosmic Starfield. And then I can go into the settings and say this is public. And then I can make it. I like to use the custom URL feature just to have nice links. We could make it a little taller if we want to. And look, it's responsive too. It's insane. And see what it did. How did that even... Oh, unreal. Unreal. Right, right. So what I wanted to demo too is like the application of this for uh, data visualization. Because I think it's huge and it's going to totally change the industry. And for me, it's going to totally change how I teach my course. And so I'm starting with these templates. Like there's this one, and there's this one, and there's this one. And these are like three different sort of approaches. This one I just asked to edit with AI. I just clicked edit with AI and passed it in to Claude and said, make me a bar chart. And you can see the evolution of it here in the revision history, where each revision has a thumbnail. See, I started with the circles example, and then I prompted it, make it into a circle pack. And so it did. And it's like, wow, this AI stuff is totally, totally changing the game. But anyway, going back to the example, I found that the AI works really well with React. And so this draws from one of the old starters, this React starter, which is just some basic JSX and HTML. So I started here, and then I just prompted it a couple of times, and it came up with this very nice structure. And I didn't just prompt it. I set up this, which is my preferred way of decoupling D3 and React. So the D3 is fully responsible for rendering the DOM within this Viz container. And so this main implementation is pretty portable. Like you could instantiate this inside of a Vue app or a Svelte app pretty easily by just defining the DOM element and then these two values, state and set state. And forgive me if I'm getting into too much detail, but the upshot is it works really well. And I found that the AI works best if you have a bunch of small files, because the way I implemented it is the AI needs to rewrite the entire file for all files that change. And so the smaller the files, the smaller the AI updates, and the fewer tokens will get used. And speaking of tokens, this UI is brand new, just landed today. Super excited. So I asked it to make that star field super fancy, right? That cost me 14 cents. And you can see if you use the other cheaper models, like the Qwen 2.5 coder, it's only 2 cents. And then like DeepSeek, 1 cent. But anyway, this is one of the sort of AI templates. The other one is this one here, which I took as a challenge to theme it really nice. And I found this style guide, or like brand guidelines from the BBC, and I tried to apply it here, mostly with AI. I just said, make it styled like this, and I pasted the style guide text, and it basically worked. And this is purely vanilla JavaScript, but using that same API where you have a main function that takes a container and these two things, state and set state. And a lot of this is pulled out into this file called theme. So one of the things to make data viz editing accessible to non-technical people, the first step I'm looking at is just extracting all the configurable things into a file that's easy to edit, like easy for a non-technical person to edit. So you could, for example, come in here and just hold down Alt and click and get this color picker and update the color. And that should update unless it's pulling the colors from somewhere else. Hmm. Oh wait, it's only updating in the legend. Okay, there's some kind of glitch. And then there's also config, which is specific for this visualization. So you could do something like alt drag on the radius. This works, yeah. And this uses hot reloading. So the feedback is instantaneous. And the whole idea is like in a professional setting, if you have this page open, or if two different people have this same page open, then if modifications are made in one of these, like changing the radius, it updates in real time for everybody else. And so I want this to be used to be used in professional settings. You know, like if you're on a meeting with a client and they ask you to change the font size, you should be able to just like change it and then they can instantly see it. So that's the second AI template approach, vanilla JavaScript with a lot of different files. And the third one is with Three.js. So currently there's a pretty severe limitation where um, Three.js is one of those libraries that only has an ESM build and not a browser build. And so currently the only way to work with that kind of a library is to put everything in the index.html. So that's one thing I want to work on for the runtime environment. So like ideally we could split this out into separate files. And I want to show my friend EJ made a fork of this one along the lines of make it super fancy. And it delivered. Claude delivered. Like this is the 3D tree that's super fancy. It's just incredible. It has zooming and like it's just really amazing. So yeah, what do you think? Like if you wanted to use VizHub in an organization, what's stopping you today?
Yeah, I guess not much, but the biggest thing is it would be data integrity, right? Like you could, it would be great, for example, but you wouldn't want to. Uh, Stakeholders might not want to put data on. You'd have to pull it from uh, secure data sets, But I mean, as long as this is pointing to wherever you can just sort of get around that. So it wouldn't
Yeah,
be too
no, that's
difficult.
that's a valid point. The data integrity, data security
Yeah, yeah.
issue. And I guess it really depends how it's used too. Like if it's used for something that's public facing where the data can be public, it's
Wh-
not
y-
not
Things. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just for like the board or you know
right for internal tools.
internal. Yeah, but I mean, I think that can be worked around in terms of presenting, uh, working on the stylings of a visualization. I think that's fine, and then once you embed and it's embedded in internally and you're pulling the data internally, then I think that's okay. Because it's not like the data would be talking to anything external. Like you wouldn't be You wouldn't be sending it to VizHub and then sending it back. You'd be saying, here's here's the code for the visualization, and your data set is this file, and that file is on whatever.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, right now there are a couple of different approaches for pulling data in
Mm-hmm.
VizHub. And one of the approaches that's very popular is just to host the data externally and have it pull
Mm-hmm.
in
Yep. Mm-hmm.
from a certain URL that's public. And let's see, where's config data URL? So in this case, it's just pulling from a GitHub gist, which works great for like my courses and stuff. But yeah, for a lot of the use cases of VizHub for like internal tools, that won't work, right? Because the data can't be public. And so in that case, there's this other method of using data in VizHub, and that is, oh, this is using the import across viz feature. And so this viz, and I can hold down Alt and click on it in the code to get there. It brings me to this viz that just has a data.csv file right here inside of the viz. And then I'm using this rollup extension thing that will parse the CSV file, and you can just import the data from it like this and parse it, and then export data from this viz, and then import it into another viz like this. And then if the data were to be updated here in this one place, all the visualizations that import from it would also be updated. So I think that's pretty cool, but it suffers from the problem that now the data lives inside of VizHub, right? So I think it leads into the discussion around self-hosting. Like if a company wanted to do this, but didn't want to use the cloud-hosted version of VizHub, it should be possible for that company to spin up their own like enterprise instance of
Mm-hmm.
VizHub on their own infrastructure behind their firewalls and everything. And then this approach could work. And if it's hosted in a certain way, um, maybe you could hook into databases somehow, which is something that I have not done. Like I know Observable has done this. They have a connector for databases. Maybe that's something I should look into building.
Yeah, that gets like that's another sub specialty of what we're doing. Um, but yeah, that would make sense. Just because non non technical uh, staff or whatever, to get really protective over how and where the data is. You know,
Right.
in my experience, it could something could be totally secure, but you need to bring in your teddy bears and tell them it's okay. We can cuddle up to
Yeah.
a solution, right?
Right.
But that's I'm just bringing that up because I know that's always a concern.
Yeah. And I've worked on projects in the past where it was like in a client services context where I was working at an agency that did projects for clients, and they have this very restrictive policy around data security that made it so that we were not allowed to upload the client data to any cloud providers of any kind. So it's, I mean, except I think the exception was GitHub. Like we were allowed to put it, we were allowed to put the CSV file into our GitHub code base, but that's about it. And GitHub, the only reason we could do that is because the GitHub Enterprise Edition was like vetted or has gone through all this security review, right? It's like compliant, SOC 3 compliant, I think is the
Right.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a totally valid concern. Yeah, but and I think it's a pretty widespread issue with data visualizations with web technology in particular, because to get it into a web page is like at a certain point it's inherently insecure. Like you're sending the data to the clients,
Yeah. Absolutely.
which is not the case for like if you want if you just want the viewers of your page to see the visual but not get access to the data. I've seen a lot of people do things like, you know, put the data viz inside of a PNG, in which case you lose all the interaction. So that's not really
Yeah, or it's behind authentication or something,
right.
right? Like, but um, like you get problems like anything, anytime anything's yeah web hosted anyway. So
Right. Hmm.
um,
I noticed some other folks are here. Um, GC's in the house. How you doing? And Nita's here, but I don't think her mic is working. Is your mic working? I don't think so. We gotta get that working. Well, it's all right. It's the first one. I didn't expect really anyone to show up, but this is a great discussion by itself. I think a lot of people have these same problems or needs. So I'm curious, are you using VizHub now? Like, is it is it useful?
you know what? Intermittently, yeah. It's become more useful as now swinging into uh being more doing contract work. Um,
Nice.
but I have to admit, I haven't used it in I don't know a few months. So I'm gonna have to upgrade to premium, which I'm
Oh, you're gonna have to
totally
upgrade. Yeah.
yeah I'm totally up for. That's totally fine. And that's such a like I really can't thank you enough for actually building VizHub out. It really helped me a lot when I was in school, and
Oh, that's great to hear. Thank you.
and even just trying to figure things out in a JavaScript perspective, you know, here and there.
Right. And that's another need that VizHub aims to solve is like learning. So like the tutorials, I've heard that a lot from folks where like people have stumbled upon my videos and examples and said it helped them along the way, which is awesome. But I need to make it sustainable too. Like I need to that's I don't know. And I hesitate to charge for that too. That's one of my maybe one of my shortcomings is like well, everybody suggests, oh, you should paywall your education content. I'm like, no, that defeats the whole purpose. Like, I want to give the content away, but somehow make the make the platform a sustainable business. But I'm not a business person. Like, I didn't go to business school, so like,
Yeah.
I'm still feeling my way out. But like, I just need to keep the lights on with VizHub and ideally grow it. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that while maintaining this integrity or this vision that I have for like democratizing access to this level of education and tooling for coding and data visualization.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do or if this interests you, if you can do like a what you call it, like a timed, like for free in X days. You know, if the user,
Right.
you know, like the first 3 days or first week or whatever you want to do, and then because I'm, you know, it's just an option, like whatever.
Yes, I have thought about that. And I wonder if I should build that into VizHub itself, or that should be like a separate thing, because I know YouTube has some facility to do that. That's a good idea. That is a very good idea. Yeah, maybe that would be like the next tier up of like $20 a month, and you can, I don't know, something like that.
I know. What was I looking at? There was something that this is uh, like not what we've been talking about, but there was a really cool site. I was looking at uh this economics guy. I can't remember his name right now, but there's this site he used, and I'm just gonna go through my history and see if I can find it to show it off. But it pulls up like economic data. I don't know where the data, what databases they're using, but it makes some of these cool.
Oh, are you thinking of Our World and Data?
No, that is that is
That's
uh
a cool site too.
that is a very cool site that I have actually bookmarked on. It's been bookmarked for years on my browser.
Well, they've changed it around a lot. It looks like a newspaper now.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I want to pull in some of these, like redo them in VizHub. That'd be sweet.
Maybe for the next, if you do this again, I'll have to find it for the next meeting. A cool thing.
Hey, say, is there anything you want to show off? Because I want to make part of this like a show and tell. If you've been working on any data viz
Oh
stuff.
dear spaghetti monster. No, there's no. Oh, do I literally have anything? No. I've been working on a website that will eventually somehow integrate DataViz, but nothing I could really show off right now.
Yeah.
But that's incentive to like for next week or whenever you're gonna do this again.
Yeah. And that was a good part of the Get It Right in Black and White series, because each week I would do like a little tutorial and then have an assignment, and then folks would show off their stuff, and that was really nice. Cool. Well, maybe let me just show off some of the cool stuff that was.
Oh, it was this. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Go ahead.
You found it? What is it?
It was actually from Harvard. It's the Atlas of Economic Complexity, and you can do. Here, I'll
Oh,
just send it in the chat here, and then in the whoops.
I got it.
Quiet.
Harvard.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh wow, they got some nice stuff there.
Yeah, and if you go into an Explorer, you can like make some.
Growth lab. Oh, my machine is slowing down. Okay, they got a whole tour thing.
Like this would be an example of like I don't know visualizations with training wheels when you just want to look at data real quick without customization.
Right. I mean, this is very cool. Beautiful tree map.
I was using this because, like, as a Canadian, we just got slammed with, not to bring politics into this, but like we just got slammed with the tariffs. So I wanted to see like a trade between the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, I had the same idea. And I actually started working on it, but I couldn't find any good data because I wanted to understand, ask the question, tariffs on what specifically? Like what is it that is being traded between or imported from Canada? And how does that break down? Can we see that in here? Is there a way to look
You
at that?
actually can, yes, right here. I mean, you can use a different kind of
Oh,
VizHub,
exporter.
but if you just yeah, you just pick Canada and U.S., right?
Yeah. Wow, let's try it. So Canada.
And it's mostly, well, I'll let the data speak for itself.
You see the UI is so like as soon as I click Canada, it does up a whole bunch of stuff. But I want to change importer. Ah, it's so slow. Let's try. United States. And I wonder how recent it gets. Yeah,
I
this
think, yeah,
22.
yeah, you're only gonna get the past, like, you're gonna it's gonna be for economic data usually like a year and a half behind.
Right. Yeah, that's too bad because I want to see how it's. I guess it won't change too much over the course of 2 years, but I do want up to date information.
Hmm.
Wow, this is nice. Whoa. Okay, so the tariffs that were recently imposed will impact all of this
Hmm.
at 25%, right? So petroleum. But then the question is, of all the petrol, see, I want to have another like view of this, like of all the places where petroleum, oils, crude are being imported from, what percentage is coming from Canada? That's what
Right.
I would be curious to see that view or that angle as well. But this is really interesting, and the tooltips are pretty nice. Was it wood? Wood sawn lengthwise. 9 billion. I wonder what share is. What is share? Hmm. This is nice. I've been wanting to get a good tree map example in VizHub. I wonder, can we get the data out of this? Does that work? Download data? CSV? No
Oh,
way.
there you go.
No way. Oh, that's sweet. All right, well, can we visualize this real quick? Can I just like copy this? Let's do some live coding. See if this thing even works. So we kind of get the data. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna because this is public data. I don't know what this is. Make a new gist, which is Canada to US imports. Data.csv. Now, I want to. Whoa. Oh, it did work. Although I don't think that's CSV. Was that tabs? Oh, that's pretty close. Let's make a data TSV. And then then I should just say where this comes from. This would be so cool if we could get something like this to show up right now. And I want the data story to be better for VizHub too. Like right now, it's a little painful to have to upload it to GitHub Gist. Like it should work well in VizHub. So that's one of the things I want to fix. But anyway, we have this URL. Now check this out. Where's my fork? So this is my fork. Now, let's see. Let's see if this works. I'm just starting with this scatterplot. I'm saying change it to pull the data from this URL. And then with the AI, it doesn't know what's inside. So I have to say sample content, and then I'll just copy like the first couple rows. And put it in the code fence. And visualize it as tree map with D3. And I have no idea if it'll work. Let's try.
See
Submit.
what happens.
But this is the kind of thing that I want to be working. You know, and we could build up a nice interface, like drag and drop your CSV, select from visualization type. But just with raw prompting, it's amazing what it can do already.
Yeah, I'm pretty like I'm really. I mean, like I've done some C# programming. I'm definitely not like an 80s 90s programmer. There's people who whatever been doing it since the Bronze Age. But even from my history, it just blows me away how fast this AI stuff can get coding done. Well, look at that.
Would you look at that? It worked. It worked. Holy moly. And there's got tooltips too. Are you kidding me? Holy moly. So, and it looks about similar to this, doesn't it? Where did it go? If we look at these side by side, I mean, uh, see, the tool surprises me too at how good it is. Like it feels like this is not supposed to be so easy. like,
Yeah, yeah, it's
like I'm doing something illegal or something. you know what I mean?
yeah,
But there it is, wood sawn lengthwise. It's in the same place as the other one. Although it rearranged after I resized it. But hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty darn good. I can't believe it. Oh, and then let's see. I'm going to refresh to get the latest README. All right, I'm going to do one more turn. And by the way, this is now in the revision history, which means that I can invoke this edit with AI without fear of losing the work because I can just restore to the old version. And I'm going to use Claude 3.5 because 3.7 is like a little too creative. I just want to say like update the README to be about this data set and visualization. Or you know what I'm going to say? Do a couple things at once. Please make the following updates. That's one. Another one is I don't know why it made the title Russian. Change change the title to Canadian exports to the U.S. in 2022, and increase the top margin because it's overlapping with the labels there. Let's say by 50 pixels. Let's try that. There it goes. And another idea I had is like sometimes I want to try the same prompt for multiple AI models and see what they come up with. That would be cool.
Oh yeah, that'd be a cool short, like same data set, different AI engine
Right.
comparison. Yeah.
And like since the revision history is working and you can branch off, it could just create like multiple branches in here. That's how it would probably work, the first version at least. So anyway, that worked. So now the titles are readable, the tooltips are working, and the README is updated. Look at that. So, wow, that was a successful demo of the AI. Look at that. Okay, well, we're at time. So, um, thanks so much for coming. Great to speak with you.
Yeah, I'm glad I jumped in. Didn't get to meet a lot of people, but if you do this again, I'll totally, if I'm online, jump in. This is real treat,
Amazing. Yeah,
and
I hope to
maybe I'll build something for next time too.
yeah build something to show off and maybe use the AI and see you can probably get really far on some idea if you come at it with an idea and a data set. You could just prompt your way to a really nice product. So, all right. Well, thanks
Okay.
everyone for watching and for coming, and hopefully next time we'll get more folks to join, more engagement. It's a snowball effect. It's going to start small. That's okay. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Right. Happy Saturday.
Take care. Bye bye.